So far this year, I've read 37 nonfiction, kind of self-help business books, but recently I picked up this book called Die with Zero. It was recommended by a ton of people, and so I just decided, okay, it's time, I'm going to read it. And it completely changed my idea on how I'm spending my money now, especially as I'm young and as I age. In this video, we're gonna go over the balance of health and money, and then we're gonna go over a concept that he talks about in the book called time bucketing. And then finally, we're gonna get into the idea of having peak years to spend your money. So in his book, he talks about this concept of declining health. So if you look over here, you can see there's a lot happening over here. But what you're gonna notice is on the x-axis, you have age. You have the years as you increase, right? Now, notice these lines, okay, rising wealth. We all know you get more money as you age, right? More promotions, all that jazz. So it's gonna go up. Now, any activity or health, right, is gonna be health right here. Your health starts to decline is what he's saying around 45. So he's saying you're gonna get more money and then you're gonna decline your health. And during this window of where you have money and you still have a good majority of your health, you should be spending it. So he's saying right here at 65, you may have more money, right? You may have more money, right, on this rising wealth. You may have money like here, but your health is down here. So you wanna hit before this peak, right? And start spending your money while your wealth is rising. It may not be at its peak, but your health is still hitting. So you wanna make sure that you're hitting almost like an intersection between the more money you have and then your health. So you don't want to spend all your money when you're not healthy, and you don't have any money to spend when you are super healthy. So you wanna hit somewhere in the middle. And that's what this is trying to say, for instance. Now, this is an interesting topic because I did not think about it like this. I thought, oh, I have plenty of years to spend my money. Actually, especially if you're going to invest in experiences, which is what he talks about in the book, that experiences are what matters, you only have a certain amount of ages where you can start traveling and experiencing things before your health significantly declines, before you can't say, oh, I can't go skiing because I have bad knees, that kind of stuff. So I find this very motivating to get me to be like, okay, let's go on that trip to Japan. Let's go on that trip to Europe. Those kind of experiences. When I was younger, I was like, no, absolutely not. But now I'm like, okay, this has completely changed my mind on, I need to get these things done. The other concept he talks about in the book is called time bucketing, which I thought was fascinating. So he basically says, look, you have to grab buckets, which I didn't think these were buckets. These look like gravestones to me. Okay, in the book I was like, that's a gravestone, that's not a bucket. So it's kind of scary, but it's not. These are buckets apparently. And you're supposed to put your big ambitions inside these buckets. And they usually are like span 5 years. So you can only do a couple things, right? And then you're, early adulthood, old age. So what I've decided is I made my own time buckets. So here they are. I will link my Canva template below so you can enter into your buckets as well. It's free. I'll just link it below so you guys can get access and play around with it. I had such a hard time doing this. Oh my gosh. I got in here 25 to 30, right? I'm turning 27. So I'm like, well, I might be 27 by the time this video comes out, but I'm like, travel to Japan, I've already done that. I did that 26, right? So that's in these 5 years. I'm like, crap, before I have kids, which is supposed to be in your 30s or whatever, before I decide that I even want kids, and if I do have them, they're gonna be in this range, right? These 3 little buckets are gonna be children. So I need to get this traveling out of the way. So I'm like looking at it like, oh my gosh, TikTok, it's time to get traveling. So I wanna go to Ireland, maybe go to Europe. I wanna take my YouTube channel full time, like I don't wanna be working my 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna have to do that all the way through, 60? Like, screw that. So I've put on here a couple things that I definitely wanna do when I'm 25 through 30, which I'm already halfway through. So then I'm like thinking 30, I'm like, okay, I definitely want to write a book. When am I going to write a book? I want to do it when I'm young. I don't want to be writing. Maybe I want to write when I'm older, but I kind of want to write while it's relevant, while I'm starting the business and that kind of stuff. I got to think about kids. I want to buy a home. I want to create my dream library. That's something I'm really excited about. And like, I'm stumped for the rest of these buckets, but this is my entire life. This is my entire life laid out in front of me in buckets. And I think it's good to kind of this to scare you a little bit, because it's like, whoa, Liz, get into action. You have a couple more years until you start you know, thinking about kids, thinking about a family, thinking about homes. I'm not gonna think about homes. I don't wanna think about children, but it's like time to travel, time to get your life together. And that's what this is meant for. So take the template below, brainstorm. I need to start thinking about where I'm gonna spread things. I haven't even thought about where I wanna travel. That's how far behind I am. People could probably fill this out and be like, oh, I'm going to Jamaica. Oh, I'm going to Africa. Oh, I'm going to blah. I'm like, I don't know that. I've never really thought about traveling. Now I'm like, I could only think of, these are the only 3 I could think of. So I need to sit down and like go into this. But I think this is a great exercise and something great to remind me to get me into action. Lastly, he talks about this concept of finding your peak. So if you look at this graph here, again, these are kind of a little bit not as crisp as I would like them to be, but what he's trying to say is, look, your wealth is going up and your health is going down. So here are where you can have money to do your activities and actually do them, right? Like here, skiing is a high physical activity. You probably don't want to do it from 50 to 75. But if you're 50, maybe 35 to 50 right here, you can probably afford to go skiing and your health is relatively high, so you can ski, right? Shuffleboard, low physical activity. So you got to think about what are some activities that are high physical activities, like skiing, snowboarding, going out on the water, you know, stuff like that, that you can do now that you will not be able to do in your 60s or 70s. So that is what he's talking about when you're finding the peak. That is also inspirational because I never really thought about it like that. There's just so many different things that this book is like opening up. So that's a concept I've never even considered. So keep that in mind, start thinking about your peak years. He's saying it's around 50. I don't know if I'm gonna be a 50-year-old woman skiing. So I'm probably will put my peak around 40, but then again, children. I'm just like, all I can think about is like these years, 30 to like 45, I'm like, that's children. Those are children years. Like, I need to get some things done before I turn 30. Now, I hope this book gives you kind of the wake-up call that I especially needed because I tend to be really stingy with my money. But now I'm like thinking, okay, it's okay to spend your money on experiences. You're gonna remember them forever. You can only do them now while you're young and relatively fit and healthy. So I recommend this book if you are like me and think like, and are very stingy with your money. Like, I'm a penny pincher. I'm trying to save every dollar. So this allowed me to be like, oh, okay. And so I went to my trip to Japan. So there's other things that came out of this book where I'm like, oh, you know, die with zero, spend your money. Don't take it too far though. If you wanna see some other books that I recommend in your 20s, I filmed my top 7 books to read in your 20s, and this one was on the list. I think it was number 3. So if you wanna see the other books, I will link it up here and in the description. And otherwise, I will see you guys next time.